And here we are with the Heiko 808 and the Sophia A bus board, part number 171-6834C, revision 0.7. And we are desoldering 6 capacitors, I hope. Oh, there's 6 to desolder, so let's just hope they fall off nice and easy. So that's 2 done. Now if we have a look at the what that's done, look at that, it's fantastic. And the 2 up here. So as a result, these capacitors should just fall out with a little bit of heat. And I'm going to need to apply the heat to be able to get them to fall off. But man, melts like butter. So thankfully the Heiko has heat. Capacitor. On down. I've got about 20 of these to do in total. That is terribly out of focus. And then that doesn't rip any of the traces or tracks. It just works. There's another one. So that's 2. So there were 6. All the negative parts were facing toward the back of the machine. So all the positive sides were facing toward the front, where the switches and push buttons are. So there's another one over there. When you apply the heat, you can feel the solder melt. Hold the button. Too early on that one. I get excited easily. Compared with when I did the Iowa Mega CD, remove the chip off the board, that would have caused a lot of stress to that game board and a lot of heat. This is the best method ever. There is pretty much no heat generated, so it's only in contact for such a short time, which, you know, is a good thing. The boards will live longer. Hopefully the Sophia will come back to life. That hole's not clearing up as well as I'd hoped. Need a bit of heat applied. Still got a bit of solder in that hole, but that's fine. And that is number 4. So 2 more to go. Located over here. and here. That's the noise it's meant to make. Such a manly noise. Number 5 is freed. I will be testing these capacitors with an ESR meter, just to get an idea of how degraded they are. Given that they've been in this machine since probably 94, 95. I would have to imagine that they're degraded a fair bit. These particular ones I'm removing are all 220 microfarad, running at 10 volt rating, I should say. It's probably no more than 5 volt going through the circuit. But good on Sega, they decided to go with a nice 10 volt to give it plenty of leeway. And that's how you remove a bunch of capacitors. Hope you enjoyed the video. I really did enjoy removing these. That's kind of fun. It just makes it so easy. I could do this for a living. I'm not about to though. Yeah, if you have any questions, leave a comment. If not, be sure to subscribe and like the video. You could also... Oh, I dropped one. I have no idea where that one went. Around here somewhere. It's just gone. Damn it. And this is what we've got going in as replacements. A whole bunch of, I believe they're Rubicon. 10 volt 220 UF. It's not actually 17. Actually, there might be. I ordered 20. I needed 19. It's always good to have a spare. Well, I don't know about you, but they're a pretty good fit. So now we've got all 6 on the board, and I've just got to solder them in, which will involve a regular soldering iron. So I'll be right back with one. Now you'll want to remember that so these capacitors don't have vents on them. The old ones did. So what I'm going to do is tin my soldering iron. It's not hot enough yet. I'm going to leave them slightly elevated off the board. That way, if they do expand, they're less likely to damage the board. However unlikely it may be, I'd rather take less risks. Oh, smoky. Make sure you use a 60-40 lead tin lead solder. Don't use one that's lead free, that's just asking for trouble. Lead is essential in my eyes. So the way they are at the moment, they probably aren't elevated off the board at all, and they're not. So I'll just adjust the legs. There we go. While it is neater to have them closer to the board, there's no point if they're going to expand, which, you know, there's always a possibility, and you've got to rule out all possibilities of problems. There's one thing that I hate. No, I love problems. Allow me to try and find solutions. So they're about quarter and a half a centimetre off the board. So if they do ever expand, they'll be quite noticeable. You'll just be able to look under them and you'll notice that the rubber thing has sort of lifted or propped the capacitor up flush. So we want to add solder. That's the easy bit. We're in frame, we're not in frame. Of course not in frame. So, I'm sure you all remember how to solder. You need solder and a soldering iron and a moist sponge to clean the tip. Where are we starting? Far away. So heat on one side, solder on the other. And meat, there'll be a mighty nothing. Doesn't make any noise. Wednesday night soldering. Next up are these two. Percent done. Let's move on to the other side of the board. Now, just be careful of the legs, they are spiky. Lucky last. And we're done. Now go reassemble it, have a test, and have the exact same problem I had before, no doubt. The troublesome capacitors are actually on the main board. This is the board that sits above it. All got a fair amount of height, except one. Must have fallen through, he's still got a bit of space, so he's okay. So there you go. So now we've got C6, C5, C4, C7, C2 and C3. Nice new caps. Making sure the negative, well, that is not in focus, apologies. The negatives are all facing that way toward the back of the board, toward the back of the machine. So just double check your work. You can also see there are positive markers on the actual board itself, which tell you which end is the positive. So let's get those cables trimmed with nail clippers and get it back in one piece. Alright, I'll let you in. I did put them a little bit closer to the board, just enough so that they can wobble back and forth, because that's usually a good way to tell if a capacitor's bulging. If you can't see it physically bulging, then you've got some problems anyway, but yeah, so you can put them a bit close. I mean, I did have some of them. Some of them are, you know, quite far off the board. I just found a capacitor I missed, C1. It's a small 16 volt, 10 microfarad. So I'm going to go have a look, see if I've got one of those. I'm pretty sure I did order some 16 volt 10 microfarads for the other boards, so hopefully I ordered some spares. Sure enough, I had one. I actually had 5, I only needed 2. And there we go, it's a 16 volt 10 microfarad. Now some of these are rated at ridiculous lifetimes. Like some of these are 105 volt, this is an 85. But they're rated for 5,000 hours at 105 degrees. That's pretty good. Chances of failure greatly decrease. With chances of failure, I should say. Or is that what I said? Anyway, I'm going to desolder this, pop this one on, and then we'll meet back with the Sophia in mostly one piece. Well, we haven't got any further, sadly. We're still just getting a blinking light on the front there, and solid power. Yeah, so Caps on the top board weren't the issue. You do get a red LED on the A-bus board though, and on the main board down there. And the fan spins like crazy. So yeah, out of ideas for the moment. I mean, I'm going to try the caps on the other board. Hopefully we'll get something. Rest easy, Sophia. We'll get you there yet.